Welcome to Bite Size Dental Marketing. Today I have Dr. Calderwood. Dr. Calderwood's out of Park City Dentistry. Great to have you on the show. We've met twice now in Florida, and I've got to hear certainly part of your journey, but I'd love to hear your origin story.
Thanks for having me on. Basically, all started about 14 and a half years ago. I bought a solo practicing dental office in Park City, Utah. And I grew up in the area, so it was nice for me to move back to Utah. Before this, I was working in Colorado and honestly didn't think I'd ever come back to Utah. I love Utah. I love the recreation here, the mountains, the four seasons. I love the climate. It doesn't get too hot in the summers, which is a big deal for me. But Utah has dentistry in Utah has struggled in terms of profitability for a long time because they are ranked 49th out of the 50 states in terms of dental insurance reimbursement rates. Sometimes we're 50th, but last I saw we were ranked 49th. And whether we're 49th or 50th, the point is that dentists in Utah don't get paid as much as dentists do elsewhere. So my late wife and I, when we were in dental school at University of Maryland, we were open to living anywhere in the country, from Maine to Alaska to Texas. We were cool with living anywhere. We just wanted to make enough money to make that long journey through college and dental school worth it. And upon graduation, I took a job in Colorado, like I said, and then after working there for a while, wanted to own my own practice and came to Park City, and it was difficult. It was a really challenging practice. When I bought it, they were only producing about $500,000 a year.
Wow.
They didn't have a hygiene department. The dentist did his own hygiene, only had a couple employees. And the reason I bought it was because I saw potential in it. I thought, you know what? I think I can get this turned around. We can make this practice quite profitable. And in hindsight, I was definitely overconfident and thought a lot more of myself. My business know-how and my business training was just so limited. And in my mind, I thought, I'm a great guy. Do great dental work. I'm easy to chat with. I can make this work. But I didn't understand systems and, business metrics, everything. I did not understand it. So I jumped in head first and struggled for a few years. And right when I felt like I was about to turn a corner, I'd been here about 3 years. My late wife, she unfortunately passed away from a brain tumor, glioblastoma, but she was diagnosed with her first tumor about 3 years into it. And then that was hard. And we just struggled I struggled to juggle everything with taking care of her, taking care of our 4 kids. At the time when she was first diagnosed, I had 4 kids that were aged under 5 years old and younger.
Wow.
And so we battled with that for 4 years. And then she ended up passing away from the tumor. This is 7 years ago. And around that same time, I was asked to run on the Utah Dental Association board. And I was elected and started to serve on the board. And it was an amazing opportunity. Serving on the board was what really sparked the first change for my practice, because I'd been stuck. I'd been at a plateau for several years, just really frustrated. I wasn't bringing home the amount of money that I envisioned that I'd bring home. I wasn't making the money I wanted to make. And not that it's all about money, but, I had these dreams and plans. And here I am in my mid to late 30s, had sacrificed all those years in college and dental school, and I'm a practice owner, and I'm looking around at my buddies that aren't even dentists, that don't even have like bachelor's degree, that are making more money than me. And I was starting to get frustrated. It's like, okay, this is not what I envisioned. I thought it was going to be quite different than this. And I was just frustrated. And when I was on the board of the Utah Dental Association, I remember we were in Denver for one of the national meetings, and we were at the airport waiting for our plane to leave. And I started to chat with some of the guys and ladies on the board and just opened up, became real vulnerable with them, which, on a side note, one of my frustrations with dentistry is how isolated dentists tend to be.
Very myopic.
Yeah. And we don't have the opportunity to interact with other people, and we become very closed off. Sometimes it's due to shame that we're not producing what we thought we'd produce. And sometimes it's due to pride, and we don't want people judging us of where we are. But you don't hear numbers shared very openly. And
And if you do, you only hear their highlight reel.
yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you get discouraged and think, man, I'm
Mm-hmm.
never going to get that. And you don't
Mm-hmm.
hear, like you said, the journey along the way of how they got from A to B. And you think, there's no way I'll ever get to that point. So I was stuck, plateaued. I'd rack my brain, and I'd do a ton of continuing education, but it was all clinical. I wasn't getting any of the business training, and was scouring the message boards. And I kept thinking that there'd be a silver bullet that would turn my practice around. Well, if I could just get the right direct mailer campaign, that'll turn it around. Or if I can
Mm-hmm.
just get the right kind of
One more
technology in my
hygienist.
office,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Something. Mm-hmm.
And and I guess one thing that I have learned through all of this is that it's not one little thing; it's doing many, many little things well. So here I am in the airport, opening up to these dentists, and thankfully I was in a position that I could be vulnerable with them, because we'd worked together pretty closely for 2-3 years at that point, and I knew they weren't going to judge me. And most of the guys on the dental board were in their late 50s, so they'd a lot of them had learned the hard way too, and now we're successful. So I was picking their brains. I'm like, guys, I'm frustrated. I'm stuck. I'm only collecting like 750,000 a year. I am not getting above this point that I thought I would be. So they sat down and started to run through numbers, and they would ask me, tell me about this. Tell me about your new patient numbers. Tell me about your accounts receivable. Tell me about this. You just started breaking down a lot of the numbers for me, and they helped me get some ideas. And one of the main things that they concluded is you need more patience. You got a lot of open time, open share time. You got a lot of downtime. You just need more patience. And one of the struggles in Utah too is there are quite a few dentists where I am in Park City.
Mm-hmm.
Last time I counted, I think there's like 18 or 19 dentists just here in Park City alone. And it breaks down to like one dentist for every 1,500 people. I started looking around after talking with those guys, made some changes. And I remember about that same time, I saw an ad from Academy of General Dentistry, and it was All-Star Dental Academy, just an ad for phone skills. And I knew that was something that needed to be better, that I could spend, thousands of dollars a month on marketing, but if we weren't answering the phone well, or if we didn't have the customer service skills in place, it was just flushing the money down the toilet.
I credit how insightful you were before your time. That's probably the bane of my existence, is someone dropping, $4, $5, $6 grand in marketing, and they call me, and that's the worst call ever when you get in
and
there.
then, I can see they blame you, and they're like, well, why am I not getting better results?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, we're getting you tons of leads, you're just not converting them.
I delivered 160 marketing phone calls. You converted 20 of them. Our average converts 80. This is what happens. Yeah.
And it's common too. Again, going back to what I was saying, my frustration that we as dentists, we don't talk more. And I would love it if dentists were more aware of that, so that, that office you were working with, if they could reach out to other dentists and realize, yeah, here's the broken link in our chain. This is what the problem is the customer service.
There used to be a saying that, if you show me a CEO, I'll show you a liar. I think we all like to, I mean, I do, I think, and I know that when we were little, and I again, you're vulnerable. I'll do my part. Andre and I, and I'm talking years ago, we used to lie about how big we were. And that's because in our head, to be considered relevant or important or a real, not pretenders or whatever, we had to be so big.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I kind of want to lie on the other end,
yes,
because I don't want to be that big, but we don't, but I do, and I find that when I'm talking to other agency owners, like I share enough of my story to be believable, but I really don't want to share that I'm struggling in client services to make connections with clients, and I'm, because those are too close to my identity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think dentistry has a flavor of that. Of, man, I cannot tell you I cannot tell you that I'm having trouble because everyone else looks like they're amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's that pride factor that, to truly grow, I think we need to be humble enough to recognize I've got some shortcomings, and it's okay. Everybody has their own weaknesses, and whatever it is, everybody has their own shortcomings. And I think a lot of people could reach much greater heights if they would be humble enough to acknowledge that and address those.
Mhm.
So, in my own personal life, I was addressing a lot of my shortcomings. On a business sense, I was addressing a lot of them. And I started working with All Star Dental Academy, and it, I actually have to kind of laugh. I felt like I was a pet project of the CEO, Alex Nottingham, because he was just starting up his mastermind group, and he asked me to join it. And my first week in this mastermind group, here's some dentists that are from all over the country that are incredibly successful. These guys are and this isn't even an exaggeration. It's why I felt so inadequate. These are guys that are bringing in for their office like 4 million plus a year, just
Mhm.
crazy productive offices. And here I am at $750,000 a year. But the good news is, um, I started working with my employees, working on the phone skills. We started improving. I was working with a practice coach through All Star Dental Academy and through that mastermind group, being able to get ideas from people. Where can I improve? What can I do better? And within like a 3-year span, we went from collecting about $750,000 up to 1.3 million, which was a huge, and this was right through COVID too. I started with All Star back in 2019, and
Mhm.
then COVID hit, and we just kept chugging along right through it. It didn't even phase us. So I'm happy. I mean, we got a long ways to go if I ever want to
Yeah.
reach those guys, but on my own personal level, I'm happy. This is kind of where I wanted to be. I'm working a 4-day work week. I take like 2 or 3 big vacations a year. I'm making enough money to, be mostly debt free at this point. I enjoy what I do in the practice, general dentistry. So it was nice to overcome some of those frustrations I had to finally get where I envisioned I'd be and to be successful to the point where I don't have that weight hanging over me anymore like
Right.
it used to be of like the debt and keeping up with the debt load. And I don't have this resentment of people that were successful. It used to be, like I said, I'd see dentists that were successful and I'd get kind of angry and think like, well, why not me? Why can't I have that? And I, now I can celebrate other dentists' successes and other businesses, not even dentistry. And
Mhm.
I'm sorry, it sounds like they're working on the roof again.
No, that's all right. It's all
Yeah,
right.
you might be hearing some construction sound, but yeah, I'm happy. I'm loving it. And then what we ran into last year is we started to get too busy, actually.
Mm.
Um, so we started to scale back from being in network with insurances. And the thought was, all right, if we go out of network, it'll, we'll inevitably lose some patients. It'll get to the point where we're not too busy anymore. And the funny part about it is we're completely fee for service now, except for one uh, dental plan that we're in network with.
Right.
And we're still booked out like 3 months for hygiene because people love us so much. So it's a good problem to have.
No, we're seeing that across the board that if you hey, I do not want to gloss over how impactful it is that I think you have to surround yourself with people who aspire you to do better. And,
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're an average of the 5 people you spend the most time around, I want to spend more time around people who are more successful than I am. And, and I get in trouble for saying it. So, cause you can be like, I want to be the dumbest person in the room that when we're talking about problems, like I want to aspire to the people who have done greater things than I am. And if you're the smartest person in the room, I think you're in the wrong room.
Exactly. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
Surround yourself with people that make you be better. And
uh,
that's how, like I was saying, with that mastermind group where I've met you in Florida a couple of times, I'm around these guys that they're giants in dentistry and they're helping me to become much better than I thought I would be.
yeah, and the interesting thing is like Brent Cornelius at Sky Creek Dental, like the funny thing is my emotion around how my company, your emotion around your company, his emotion around his company, even though we're all different companies and different journeys, like I don't know that part of that ever goes away. And a big change that, and I may get this quote wrong or this sentiment wrong, but it was actually a big mental shift for me when uh, Emily and I went to marriage therapy, marriage counseling, and knock on wood, we're still fighting strong. But the therapist said, resentment is not actually in the anger family; it's in the jealousy family,
Yeah.
and that was so powerful of like, I do not want to be a jealous man. I do not want to associate with jealousy. Like, and I went home that night not chewing about my marriage. I was chewing about my business and how I viewed other agencies and companies. And I said, man, I don't want to be angry or resentful. And that changed me to where I really did start to become a little more vulnerable and open up a little bit more about my journey in the agency. But Andre and I joke, like, at what point do you reach, and how much happier can you be? Because I feel so happy right now, but I do want to get bigger.
That's the
It,
same with me. Is like I was telling my wife recently is that I'm so content in life and I'm so happy,
mm-hmm.
but at the same time, I'm setting goals for more. So, and I'm like, yeah, let's keep
Yeah,
reaching, let's keep going.
yeah, and then I do have this internal draw of like, I'm happy. My kids are gonna live great. My again, I'm kind of like you. I have enough money to do the things I feel I want to do. Then why am I chasing these bigger ambitions? But so yeah, but I am, I'm out there grinding every day, trying to get better. And maybe that's it. Maybe there's something internal. Maybe it's not about the number. It's some internal growth desire we have. Yeah.
I think so. It is that personal growth. I remember along that journey, I read. I started this is several years ago. Started getting into books on the science of happiness.
Mm.
And one of the books is the Happiness Advantage,
Mm-hmm.
and I love that book, by the way. And one of the talks in there, some of the things that truly bring happiness, which they'll say, money, fame, prestige, none of that truly is going to bring lasting happiness. It's more like service, family, friends,
Mm-hmm.
those
Mm-hmm.
associations we have, and personal growth. And that personal growth aspect is a huge part of the happiness that I have in my life. Whether I'm learning a new foreign language or a new skill, or seeing my practice grow, or becoming a better dad with my kids, a better husband, that personal growth brings me a lot of happiness. So when I say I'm content, doesn't necessarily mean I'm like putting it on
Mm-hmm.
cruise control. But yeah, I guess one way of saying is my practice could stay as it is right now for whatever obstacles come my way, and I don't end up collecting more, and I'd still be happy. I'd tackle
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
those. So it's not about a dollar amount for me. That just happens to
Same.
be, and it's changed oddly, because it used to be very much about the dollar amount. It used to be very
Mm-hmm.
much about the money, and now it's not about the money. It's about everything else. Having employees that love coming to work, um, which side note, my wife works with me now. She's my head dental assistant, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Working with your wife in an environment you both enjoy.
It's funny you say that. I every year Andre and I do a trip where we go out of town together, and we talk about the business in fear of, are you living the life you want? How's my retirement coming? I'm about 10 years older than Andre. How's my retirement coming? How are the kids? How are the wives? That kind of stuff, like as human beings. And every year I'm like, man, I do not need more money. I do not need a different car. I don't need, a bigger house. I want clients that appreciate me. I want
Yeah,
employees who I aspire, to be around. And I, I want to make the world a better place within my little sphere of influence. And that's happiness to me. But you're right. I definitely used to have a number in mind.
life is short,
Mm-hmm.
and that was one
Yeah.
thing that was manifest very clearly to me with my late wife. She
Mm-hmm.
so when she was diagnosed with her first tumor, and we're sitting there with the neurosurgeon, and she was asking him, very nervous. She said, "Hey, doctor, am I going to die from this tumor?" And he said he phrased it really well. I'm probably going to butcher a little bit, but in a sense, he told us every day, all of us are one day closer to dying. In this situation, it's not a matter of if these brain tumors take your life, it's when. So we knew we were on, final
Mm-hmm.
countdown, so to speak. We didn't know if we had 6 months, 2 years, 3 years for her to live. It ended up being 4 years, but we made the most of those 4 years, and we had fun. We had fun with our kids. We made life matter, and we made it count. And it did just hammer home that message to me that life is short. Life is way too short to be going to work miserable, hating your
Mm-hmm.
job, and it's just a paycheck. There's so much more to life than just money, and why not? And thankfully, in dentistry, we are very fortunate in that we have a lot of control over our situation, a lot of autonomy, and we can create our dental practice however we want it. You know, if
Yep.
I, for example, I hate dentures. I hate doing dentures. I don't do them. So I decided I'm not going to do dentures. I'm just going to send them out. So if there's something in your dental practice or in your situation, like with your marketing firm, that you don't like, change it. That's
That's
been an
not fun.
awesome aspect about getting as busy as we are, by the way, is if we have just a really rude, disrespectful, mouthy patient, the kind that just like the energy vampires that just suck all the energy out. It's so fun and so nice for us to just politely, and my office manager, reception, whoever it is, they can say, hey, can we dismiss this patient? And there's no heartburn over it. All of us like, yeah, we're obviously not the office for them. And we kindly and politely tell them that we won't be able to treat them anymore, but we'll refer them to another office. And it's nice not having that heartburn. It's really good.
It is. And, they need to go find somewhere that they value. And that's it. I'm sure it's the same thing. I just don't. Why would you want to be around some place that you don't value? And they're
Yeah.
and the inverse is probably true. They don't value you. And yeah.
And back to what I was saying about going fee for service, I think that was the pinnacle of truly allowing us that kind of freedom. Because
Mm-hmm.
like I said, in Utah, we're one of the last ranked states in terms of fee for reimbursement rates for dental
Right.
work. Just to give you an example, and some of the dentists listening to your podcast across the country are going to probably choke when they hear this, but there are some dental plans, popular dental plans here in the state of Utah, who have an allowable of $450 for a crown. So, in order to make enough money to pay going rate for just all your overhead, the employees, because especially since COVID, the cost to retain employees has
Oh yeah.
gone exponentially. Thanks to inflation, our supplies have gone, everything's gone up.
Mm-hmm.
So to try and provide that kind of dentistry, you need to be just on roller skates, absolutely churning and burning them to even make a profit. Whereas you go fee for service, and suddenly you can slow down. You don't have to go as fast. You don't have to have every patient under the sun coming in your office,
Mm-hmm.
and you can go a little slower, provide better quality at a pace that you enjoy. So that was huge in allowing us that freedom.
And I think the irony that dentists don't understand is those roller skates are actually holding you back from being great
Yep.
because you don't get the time to connect with your patients. You don't get the time to really understand them. And they become, I know this is a very unpopular thing, but I think they become a number. Like they become this is worth $450 to me. That patient's worth $800. And you've got to bounce to where, if you took the time to really establish trust and took just got to know them as a human being,
Mm-hmm.
their lifetime value to you would increase dramatically.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, it's like that statement that Dr. Pankey said. I've never had a tooth walk into my office, and
Mm-hmm.
when you see them as people, you get to know them. And well, that's one of my favorite parts about being a dentist, especially since I've been here for 14 years, is seeing these patients that were newborns when I came in that are now getting driver's licenses, or these patients that were in high school, had no idea what they're going to do with their life, are coming back in now married with kids of their own. That's awesome. I love that part of
Yeah. The
being a
community
dentist.
aspect's great. Yeah. Well, gosh, Dr. Calderwood, this has been amazing. And thank you so much for sharing. And I hope to have you on soon. But Park City Dentistry, Dr. Cody Calderwood, thank you again.
Thanks for having me. It's
You
always a
bet.
pleasure.